What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bowman Legacies podcast, where we're going to talk to you about every day. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to be talking about leadership, and we're going to be talking about giving you the proper tools to lead in both life, love, and at work. We really believe, and I just got to say this, I truly believe that a well-rounded leader is a well-rounded person. And I've never seen a leader that was just absolutely killing it at work in such a way that he was or she was so well-rounded and we're leading people on a high level, but then things at home were an absolute disaster, right? So a well-rounded leader is a well-rounded person. And one of the things that I want to talk to you today about is one of those pinch points, one of those pain points of not mentoring. And it's a series that I want to do for just a little bit. And I want to camp out on this whole mentoring bit. And this is why. So often I'm coming into business after business after business and consulting these businesses and talking to presidents, talking to CEOs, and what I'm discovering is the lack of mentorship throughout the entire organization. That lack of having somebody that you're pouring yourself into intentionally in such a way they know the plan that you have for them and the direction that they need to go. They understand the level of accountability that's necessary and needed there, and they are on the same page with you. So that when you move up or move out, that person moves right into that queue. And so the pain that causes, that lack of mentorship, and I'm going to keep repeating this all the time, is we're leaning on all of these headhunters and all of these recruiters to do the job of mentoring that we should have done years ago. In other words, they're trying to find and fit all these holes. And if we had just mentored, if we had just been intentional about bringing that person that's with us along for the ride, if we had absolutely just been more orderly and intentional, we wouldn't be suffering with this pain. And one of the key things that I see is the lack of understanding how to delegate. And the pain of not delegating properly is overworking yourself. That feeling of, hey, I want to work on the company. I want to work on my life instead of in my life, in the company. We've heard this so many times. I want to get to the state where I work on the company, not in the company. Well, when we don't delegate and we don't trust other people with what we're trying to do, we will always be working in the company. And that's a fact. When you don't give someone else the opportunity to rise above, you are always going to be working in the company. That's a fact. If we don't properly and intentionally mentor others to come up along the way and holding them accountable to a standard that you want for your organization or your team, I'm going to tell you, you will always be in this perpetual problem of working on or in the company instead of on the company, because you're never delegating tasks. And I think there's several dirty words in the industry, and I think one of those is delegating. Another one is discipline. It's because we don't understand it. When we hear, I want to delegate tasks to you, or I need to start delegating more tasks to you guys, the staff. When we hear that, immediately what we hear is, oh yeah, so you can go fishing, right? Because that's what we've been shown in the past. Oh, you want to delegate more tasks so you can go play golf. And that's been the template, I think, that especially in Western culture, that idea of delegating is kind of a dirty word for, so those of you guys who are really being responsible leaders, you're striving so hard not to be that guy or gal. You're striving so hard to be responsible. You're striving so hard to be in the mix of your team. You're striving so hard to be able to be that person who is saying, hey, look, if I'm not going to ask you to do something I wouldn't do, so you're always out there doing things that they're doing, and you're really not being responsible over the things that you're supposed to be doing. And that's growing the business. That's mentoring other people so that they can rise above. That mentality, when I grew up, I used to hear, well, if I fell down dead here at work, this place would just run right over the top of me and keep going. But it's such a selfish thought right there. And I used to agree with that. I used to say it too. But what is the organization supposed to do? What is the team supposed to do? Are they just supposed to give up and all go home? Like, especially in businesses and organizations that are 200, 300, 400, 2,000 strong. Are they all supposed to stop and just go home and stop feeding their families and stop going to work? No. They have to keep going. It's the most selfish mentality and self-centered mentality to say, if I were to leave, this place would fall apart. You've not done your job as a mentor if that's a fact. Or you've not been allowed to do your job as a mentor and delegate tasks to other people. So how do we do that? How do we properly delegate? I think one of the key things is actually asking, hey, what things that I do that are so pertinent to me right now and so expertise that I really need to responsibly be doing these things. Doesn't mean you can't mentor them into someone else into rising above, but you have to be honest with yourself. When you become a leader, there's a lot of self-evaluation where you got to be honest. And sometimes that needs you to have help with that honesty from your peers, the people you work with, or someone like me, a consultant. But I mean, being honest with yourself is just to look at what you're doing and really ask yourself, hey, am I even able to delegate this? Can I give this away? Because a lot of the times when good leaders see how bogged down they are and they want to delegate, they end up just really giving things away that they still need to be doing because they desperately want to be working, that old saying, on the company instead of in the company. And I understand that. But you got to be honest and say, hey, look, have I so specialized this? Have I so siloed myself in this moment that when I do delegate this, no one's really going to be able to do it to my level? Or if they're not, or do they, are they unknowledgeable of some of the most expertise things that they're going to need to do this? So sometimes what I call a trickle delegation is in order. And this is where you give bits and pieces of that process to someone to help you, whether that's a correspondent with a client, corresponding back and forth, whether that's bringing them into your office once a day, once a week, once a month, to train them on how you do the process and then allow them to shadow you. However it works for you, every organization is completely different because you have these specialty needs. But the fact is, you still need to be able to delegate, because if you don't, you're going to get wore out, because you're going to keep adding and piling things on you as a leader. And if you don't begin to delegate, I'm going to tell you another pain point that's going to happen. You're going to get to the end of your capacity really quick, and we don't want that. And if you don't delegate, you're also not mentoring. You're not giving someone else the opportunity to rise up and just kill it. And if you don't delegate, one of the problems is you're not mentoring properly. And then all of a sudden, when you're so fatigued and you're so tired as a leader and you're ready to move up, there is no one else to take your place. And then it takes a lot longer for that process to happen. When I transferred out of a drilling rig into a safety position at an organization, I still had to drill quite a bit for the first probably 6 months, because the drill that I had was the only one like it in the organization. We had many different kinds of drills, and we had drills that were much better than the one I had, but mine was just different. So I needed to train somebody up. Well, I did not only need to train somebody else to take care of my rig, that guy needed to train someone else to take care of his. So he was in what's called a Sandvik Ranger. I was in a Sandvik DI 550. The Ranger's very specialized little drill. It's very cool. It articulates, for those of you who know, like a hoe or an excavator. And it is a great piece of equipment in adverse conditions and hard to get to places. Whereas the Sandvik DI 550 is a much bigger drill, and the controls are different, and it moves and breathes differently. So there had to be several different pieces of training there. But at least we got that process going, or we would have always been stagnant. So if you don't start to delegate properly, and you don't begin that trickle delegation, and you don't make it fit for you and adapt for you, you're always going to be where you're at right now. And I want you to sit back. I simply want you to close your eyes, and I want you to ask yourself, how much longer can I be here in this place? How much longer can I function at this capacity For some of you, that answer is you don't want to take another breath in this place. And I understand that, but don't get hopeless. Don't get sad. You just got to start somewhere. Make this adapt for you. Start somewhere. Even a micro step in the right direction is still a step in the right direction. It's positive movement forward. Oh, sure, I'm just like you. I want to fast track everything. I just want to bulldoze my way through things and just absolutely take over and do great and phenomenal things. Who doesn't? But the fact of the matter is, intentional steps forward, where you're taking that ground and keeping it, are usually the ones that last. So when you're looking at delegation, don't get that feeling. For those of you who are puke sensitive, I'm going to be insensitive, right? Get that barfy taste out of your mouth. I am so sorry. I am a child. I am literally a child. I can't help it. But get that barf taste out of your mouth and realize that word delegation is not that big of a deal. It's not. You've just got to start. So ask yourself, can I? Ask yourself, is there somebody that can right away? And if not, is there somebody that I want to train? Now, I will also add this. A lot of times when I get into organizations, when I ask these questions, typically what I hear right there is, yes, I need to delegate 1 through 5 for me to be able to progress into that next level of leadership that I want to be for my career and what the organization needs. Okay, so the answer there is yes, I need to delegate. And then when I ask those questions, hey, is there someone who can do those things right now? Typically the answer is no. And okay, is there somebody that you have in mind? Typically the answer is no. And typically the answer, okay, well, are you looking for somebody? Typically the answer is no. And then sometimes the answer is, well, we've got a recruiter on it, but they've been working on it for the last 3 months and we haven't filled that slot. This is where you work with what you've got. I was in a meeting full of execs a couple of months ago in one of my clients, and I'll never forget what one of the guys said. You know, everybody was talking about, well, is this guy ready to rise up? And we're talking about delegation, this very thing right here. And is this guy ready to rise up, or is this guy ready to rise up? Do you think this gal could do it? Do you think this gal could do it? And the answers were no to all of them. And then finally, one of the questions was that I presented, well, of that list of people that you presented that aren't ready, do any of them want it? And one came in mind. And so that name was brought up. And then when that name was brought up, the round table there was like, they're not ready. He's not ready. And this is the why he's not ready. Well, so do we just sit there? Do we just go and slip into indifference and neglect the problem altogether because this guy's not ready? Or do we start to delegate some things to him and bring him up to the level that he needs to be and allow him to rise up to that challenge? You see, one of the guys spoke up and he just kind of leaned back and he kind of talks like this, just a little, has a little bit of an accent. And he says, at some point, we're just going to have to try. We're just going to have to give somebody a shot. And man, I could not be happier with that, because that's the state and the reality of where we are as an industry right now. In the blue collar world, sometimes you just got to give a guy or a gal a shot. But don't throw them to the wolves if you're going to do that. Don't give them a shot and walk away. Don't give them a shot and walk away. I'll never forget a president of an organization saw leadership in me, and I said, hey, look, you know, he asked me if I could rise up to the occasion of a new level, and I said, absolutely no problem. And I said, look, man, I want to make sure that I get comprehensive training because I don't want to fail my guys. He goes, absolutely, I'll get it to you. I'll make sure that you're trained for the job. Here was my training. Hey, bud, there's your office. There's your phone right there. Dial 9 to get out, I'm pretty sure. And then right there, there's some files that I'm almost positive there's some important stuff in there. Have a great day. Get after it, buddy. And he walked away. That was my comprehensive training. And luckily, I rose above. It took me a while. There was a lot of nerves. I was afraid I was going to get fired. I was afraid I was just going to be a dismal disappointment to this guy because I really liked him. I really wanted to do well for him. And I ended up doing well for him. And I did great for him, and he's super happy. And we're still pals today. We still talk here and there. And But when we do that, when we delegate those things, and you're left with people trying to figure out, okay, what's in those files, or how does this piece of equipment work, we're not delegating in the proper way. So you need to make an intentional plan when you delegate. So this week, man, your only homework is going to be, okay, if you're a leader right now and you've got that hurting point that you need to delegate, you know you need to do, just ask yourself, number one, and write it down. Number one, can I delegate this? Is there somebody who can do it right now? And is there somebody, if they can't do it, that can be trained to do it? Let's just synthesize it to that very finite place. Let's just keep it right there because it is much bigger than that. I'm going to add one more thing. Can this person, or does this person that I'm trying to delegate this to actually have the capacity? That's another thing, because if you're going to give, you always got to take away. I say that all the time. You're going to hear that all the time from me, especially if you're a client of mine. You're always going to hear, if you're going to give, you got to take away. It's a trickle effect here, baby. And what we're wanting to do is challenge each other, help each other to rise up. We want to be able to do more. And what I want to help you as a leader, get you to the place where you don't just throw up your hands and walk away. Because there's a good chance if you're listening to this, that's right where you are. So let's keep it right there. Let's keep it simple this week. Let's keep it at 16 minutes and 46, 47, 48 seconds so that you can go on with your day and begin to ask yourself those questions about delegation. I love you guys. Hey, look. Listen, if you haven't heard it this week, I love you. I love you, and I'm proud of you. Keep going, keep growing, keep building that legacy that will far surpass your legend so you can inspire others to do the same. And my friends, say it with me. That's how we change the world.